Okay, you are now live on YouTube. Whenever you've got quorum and you're ready, you have quorum. So whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
I've got 6:59 on my phone clock, so I'll just follow that and we will prepare accordingly.
Okay.
Council, did you manage to get supper in all that time? Okay, I have 7 o'clock and we'll move forward with tonight's meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody, members of council, staff, and members of the public who are joining us and those who are here for presentations tonight. This is a regular meeting of council for June 15, 2021, and we acknowledge that we're meeting this evening on the traditional territory of the Squamish Nation. I'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock and ask for approval of the, I'm going to amend the agenda. So we're going to have an amended agenda. And what we would like to do is, because of other people in the room, rather than make them wait through heavy presentations, I'd like to move items 9.1, which is presentation by Gravity, the thank you and goodbye to her, mainly because Gibsons Rotary Club was planning to attend. So we'd like to move that up to item 7, following inquiries. And then item 8.5, I'd like to move that up to item 8, following inquiries. And then all the other consequential number changes will follow that. So currently 7 will become 9, et cetera, et cetera. So as you go through your package. So we'll go through that way. And that will be the only change that I'm aware of tonight, unless there are any other changes to the agenda. Seeing none, I'd ask for a resolution to approve an amended agenda. Councilor Crowell, thank you. Councilor D'Andrade, thank you. All in favor of the amended agenda? Thank you very much. And welcome, Gravity. We'll go through then motion to receive all staff reports, correspondence, and committee meetings and minutes and bylaws. Yeah. Moved by Councilor Crowell, seconded by Councilor D'Andrade. Discussion, Councilor D'Andrade. You're muted, Councilor D'Andrade.
Sorry. Okay. It's the June 1st meeting. There's an error on the minutes.
Okay, we'll come to that when we
No, but you just got to approve all of the minutes, right?
no, committee minutes, not council minutes.
Sorry, so you jumped the agenda. Okay, so I'm confused. Okay.
Just receiving all staff reports, correspondence, and committee minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so all in favor? Okay. Thank you. Okay, they're approved. So now we'll go to the adoption of minutes, and the minutes of the regular council meeting of May 18, 2021. Somebody care to move adoption? Councilor Crowell, Councilor D'Andrade, all in favor of adoption? Thank you. Minutes of the June 1 regular council meeting. Somebody care to move adoption? Councilor Crowell, seconded. Councilor Lumley. Okay. Discussion. Was there an issue on those ones, Councilor D'Andrade?
Yes. So on page 24 of the agenda, which is page 7 on the minutes, there's a resolution, the last resolution. It says here that I seconded. But it's not correct because I was actually opposed to this resolution.
Okay, I guess the only way we would know that, does anybody recall, or should we delay approval of these minutes until staff can check the record?
Okay, I'm fine, as long as we don't approve. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and in terms of process, I will say this is seconding a motion is only for discussion purposes. When you move a motion, that's you can't speak against it. When you second a motion, is strictly to put it on the table. I don't know if that was the intent for discussion or what, but it hasn't. Yeah. So, yeah, Councilor Dean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, you have a point. I might have second, sorry,
Okay,
but
thanks.
I have been opposed, and I would like to be documented here, and I would also like that the reason for my opposition to be also documented, if I can, in writing, because it's very
Well,
important to me.
We don't usually do that in minutes. So we only have votes of in favor or opposed. So I guess what I'm going to suggest to council, we not proceed with these minutes tonight, that we actually check the record on that, because if Councilor Andrade was opposed, what she's saying is she'd like her opposition to be recorded.
Thank you.
So we should set these minutes aside, and we'll bring them forward at the next agenda.
I
Okay.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. So even though they're moved and seconded, we'll defer discussion of those until July the 6th, I believe it is the next council meeting. Motion to defer till next council meeting. Councilor Kroll, seconded by Councilor Andrade, all in favor of deferring? Thank you very much. Okay. Minutes of the special council meeting June 8th. Someone would like care to move those? Councilor Kroll, thank you. Councilor Ludwig, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Unopposed. Thank you. Okay. Moving on then to business arising in the minutes. Now, one of the things that we put forward from the last meeting was the UBCM meeting request with Premier Horgan, provincial cabinet ministers, and Minister of Municipal Affairs. We did receive some feedback on that from Councilor Andrade. I don't recall anything from anybody else. We have also circulated today, not for public consumption yet, but a list of meetings that are being requested by the SCRD, to which we are invited to attend. One of which, on the opioid crisis, I have been invited to submit make the submission on. We have Councilor Andrade, you've asked for issues, meeting with Minister of Environment, Climate Change Strategy with George Heyman. I believe that's already on the list from the SCRD. Just trying to take a look and see where that is. They were meeting with Minister Heyman on some issues, but maybe not specific on climate change. And if that's a request that council wants to proceed with, I will ask councillors that if you have an issue, you will then prepare the issue note for staff for going forward with it. So that environment and climate change strategy. Councilor Andrade, you want a meeting with Minister Heyman on that? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a little bit confused. You were talking about the motion that I proposed. Are we done with this?
No, it just said that you're at, I'm not looking at the motions. I'm just looking at page.
Because the motion is about protecting Gibsons SCRD aquifer recharge area on Mount Elphinstone. So
okay, yeah, that's also one of which trying to think. I'm trying to look at the that's
it's slightly different. Yeah. The
See
other
that?
one is for the communities to be notified, right?
Yeah. And if you see the one there on Ministry of Lands, Forests, Natural Resource Operations, Rural Development, Catherine Connery, water licenses and watershed protection. That has to do with that issue. Now, the SCRD is preparing a briefing note on that, and we will join them on that issue. So the question is, do we want a separate briefing note on it? Now, I will follow up with staff on our discussions from last year, because that's a separate set of meetings, staff meetings, and see where we are with that. But I have some sense of where we are from our Director of Infrastructure, but it is still an ongoing issue with them. Councilor, go ahead, Councilor Deidre.
I think, Beamish, my point here is I think it's important to meet about the same issue with these three ministers, because obviously, Minister of Environment, there's a lot of values that conflict.
We won't get a meeting with three ministers together.
No, together no, but can we address, no, I know, together no, but can we talk about the same issue? And the Minister of State for Lands, I thought was super important, because he is responsible for a revision of, the effectiveness probably, or whether the ministers have to separate. So I thought it would be relevant for him to understand what the issues are, because who knows, that would be relevant for creating even different ministry or mandates in the same ministry. So I just want, because this is a really important topic, we need to ensure that we get it done, right?
Yeah, it is important to the SCRD as well. That's why I say they are presenting this, because they are part of the same aquifer. So they are presenting this. So do you want to write a separate briefing note on it? That's all I'm saying. And then do we ask for separate meetings?
I'm not sure if it's, can we ask, if they are not asking to meet with the Minister of Environment, perhaps we do a separate meeting with, if they're asking just to meet with the Minister of Forest?
Ministry of Environment, I'm not sure, is the one who controls water licenses. It's the Ministry of Forests and Lands that controls water licenses. And that's the one that we need to meet with on that issue. And they are meeting with that. So I don't have a problem asking for separate meetings. But they won't be separate meetings, because they will come with us to the meeting. The Ministry of Lands, Forest Lands, Natural Resource Operations, and Rural Development is the one that controls the water licenses.
I understand the license, but the implications of climate change is the Minister of Environment. So I thought it would be useful to have a kind of conversation as well, at least to put some pressure of, what are we doing in terms of climate change to support, the feasibility, the long-term feasibility of communities. They are at the mercy of the forest ministry.
No, it's up to you. You just have to write it up, and we'll ask for the meeting. I don't have a problem with that. Climate change is a big topic, but it certainly is a priority for the town, and so you've got climate change with George Hyman. You got natural resource, Catherine Conray, and that relates to the water license. Okay.
Yeah.
And which we will be meeting. They've already asked for that one, so I don't think we have to ask for that one again. We'll be at that meeting. Yeah. Okay. And Minister of State for Natural Resource Operation, Nathan Cullen. What are we going to talk with him about? What's your proposal for talk to him about?
It's because he's responsible for the revision of the Ministry of Forests. He has the mandate I think they're contemplating to whether merge ministry or separate or create a completely new one. So I thought it was relevant to have a discussion of the issues, because I'm sure that's what's going to determine, So I just thought that, the more we discuss, because, for example, the protection of our recharge area, I know the license is the ministry, but if you think about overall protection, it should be also a Minister of Environment. And I just thought.
Well, I think the relevant one is the Ministry of Lands, Natural Resources. If you want to look at the other ones, I don't have a problem asking. We just have to write up a briefing note on it and
Okay.
to accompany our request. And that
Can I
has,
send,
yeah.
can I send this by email?
Well, send it into Mark, as CIO by email, and we'll share that with the regional district as well, because we'll be telling them what meetings we're asking for. Okay. Um, Did council have any others? Now, we do have two resolutions going forward to UBCM already. And one is the protection of the natural environment. And that's already going forward. That's our resolution to AVICC. And the second one is our regular request resolution relative to MOTI, and that's on consultation with projects on the highway corridor. And that's already going forward as well. The other thing that we had committed to that we should be following up with, and I'm thinking with the premier, is the human sex trafficking. We committed, council will recall, to make a submission to every sitting MLA. And so that so far, I'm not aware that we've done that. So we have to do that and forward that. And then maybe if you want us to talk with anybody about it, the premier will be the one to talk to because he actually controls everything. So, does council have any other issues they want to put forward? Councilor D'Andrade?
Yeah. I think one issue that when we look at climate change, our big footprint is in transportation. And last time I heard from the SCRD, they were going to bring buses, but not electric buses. And all of our public transportation, it's very polluting at the ferries and and the bus system. So I think it would be a great idea to write to meet with the Ministry of Climate Change or transportation, not sure which one would be the most appropriate at this point, or maybe both, to discuss that. Because last time he said it was going to take a while and then we're going to get a fleet of polluting buses. So, and we are in the midst of a crisis. So, and I understand that the ferries also, they are building like electric ferries. So I think it's the time at least for us to request.
Okay, we can always ask. I mean, there is a transportation strategy for the Sunshine Coast. You might want to look at that when you're preparing your submission on that.
Okay.
And also in terms of ferries, I know that BC Ferries is looking at those issues. So once again, prepare your submissions and submit them to Mark. And I believe the SCRD put forward a format, did they not, Rebecca?
Yes, there is a template for making requests. I'll forward the template to council so they can fill them out.
Right. Okay, good. That'd be great. Okay. And I'll do the one on human sex trafficking. I believe we have lots of information around on that. And as I say, we're already in there relative to protecting the natural environment and MOTI consultation. And I was going to wait till we have an opportunity to book meetings with staff. And then we'll look for the aquifer update, because staff has been working with the SCRD and the town primarily on the Church Road issue and the impact of Church Road on the Gibsons aquifer and the aquifer update. And we are also doing our own update with Waterline this year, and so that we'll be doing some other work on that. So, but I would like to see where we stand with the province on the aquifer on our application. Okay. Are there any others, Council? Councilor D'Andrade?
Perhaps before I speak, I just would like a clarification. Are we voting right now? Are we deciding that that's what the town of Gibson wants to submit, and then I prepare, or is coming back and we are going to vote after?
We will not be coming back. These have to be submitted by the end of the month. Yeah.
Okay. So, another issue that I think, it has been going on for a while is the speculation tax. I know we have not been included, and I'm sure this impacts our economy to a certain extent or to a greater extent. But I would like to, I'm not sure if other councillors, how they feel, but, we are trying to address housing and the economy, and empty homes don't bring the economy, they don't move the economy. So how does council feel?
Councillor Ludwig?
I thought about bringing this up as well. I actually was doing some research on it this evening, debating whether I wanted to bring it up. I think it is a really big topic, and I do want to have discussion around it, but I think it is so big that I feel like we've almost missed the boat for this, for me anyways. I'm feeling like we need, as a region, to have more discussion about it, which we haven't done yet, but I would fully support. There's a lot of people that have had long-standing vacation homes here that have been in their families for years, and all of a sudden, it would be hard for them to maintain those homes. Should they be rented out to residents? Maybe, but it's a big conversation for our particular community, and I feel like it would be great if we could discuss it with the SCRD and have maybe through an intergovernmental meeting, have that discussion, because we haven't had that yet as the region.
Yeah, I don't know what we'd say about it, and I don't know how I feel about it, frankly. I need to know more about what speculation tax and how it impacts things. I'm not sure that, I'm uncertain as to how it impacts things. Because the escalation in property values is not a local issue. It's a significant issue across the province. And so it's not something we can point to and say, look what's happening in our community, as opposed to what's happening elsewhere. What is happening in our community is happening everywhere right now. So that to see how a speculation tax would apply to that. Councillor Ludwig?
Yeah, just to wrap up, having said that, I really do think it's a conversation we should have with the SCRD. I think it's a conversation worth having.
Yeah. And learning more about, Councillor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor Beamish. I certainly agree with Councillor Ludwig. I think it's something that needs to be embraced with the what we're looking at with the housing strategy, and it is a big topic, and I think it's something that would of necessity need to involve a little public input. I don't think it's something we could just sort of say, surprise, here it is. We've asked for it. You now have it. So I think it needs to, there needs to be public engagement, and I think it needs to be discussed across the region, because for us to do it singly, I think could be, have huge impact on the community.
Councillor Diendrad?
Yeah, my understanding was that we were going to discuss this with the SCRD, but that's fine. I think what I would like is to have something already planned, because when the speculation tax came up years ago, I remember I thought about bringing forward and discuss, but there were so many issues, and now I see it's over 2 years and we haven't discussed. So is it something that we should put on the agenda of the next intergovernmental meeting? Can we make this commitment? And perhaps we can ask our CAO to put in the agenda. And
Good idea.
okay, thank you.
Not lose track of that. I think next meeting's September or October.
Okay.
So look forward. Okay, councillors, as council, we have a request then to meet with Minister of Environment and Climate Change Strategy, George Heyman, Minister of Forest, Lands and Natural Resource Operations and Rural Development, Catherine Conroy, Minister of State for Lands and Natural Resource Operations, Nathan Cullen, the Premier on human sex trafficking, and then we have all of the other issues that the regional district is preparing. I will prepare a note on sex trafficking, and Councillor Diendrad will prepare the others. The regional district is asking for those, I believe, by next, corporate officer, correct me, is it next Wednesday?
It's by the 30th.
By the submissions by the 30th?
I'll
Okay.
double check. I'll double check that, but that's my memory.
No, we actually have to have our submissions into the province before then. So I think the regional district was looking for them by next Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Could I have a motion then that those will be the issues that we will submit? Councillor Kroll, thank you. Councillor Diendrad, thank you. Any further discussion of that? All in favor? Thank you. And so that when we will get those into the CAO, our submissions. Okay. Next, we're going to go to delegations and petitions. And in terms of delegation, the first delegation we have is Kylie Hutchinson, a board member with Transportation Choices track on the Sunshine Coast. So Kylie, if you could kindly make yourself known.
Kylie is joining us now.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mayor Beamish, and I'm just going to share my screen for a quick presentation. Okay, everybody can see that?
Good, there you are. Got it.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking very quickly tonight about tips for attracting cycle tourists to the Sunshine Coast. This is a presentation that I originally made about a month ago for Sunshine Coast Tourism and Destination BC, and Mayor Siggers was at that presentation and requested that I make it to all of the other local governments on the coast. So my name is Kylie, and I am a part of the board of Transportation Choices Sunshine Coast. And I'm also a cycle tourist. I have over the years done cycle touring in many parts of the world. So I'm going to talk first about the business case for cycle tourists, and then I will switch to some tips primarily directed towards hospitality establishments for attracting cycle tourists to the coast. So the Sunshine Coast is already on the map as a cycling destination, as evidenced by this 2016 article in Explorer magazine. And some of the research, I want to start out, first of all, with a report by Tourism BC 2007 found that this was an important tourism market for British Columbia, and also noted that cycle tourists tend to be more educated and affluent than your typical tourist. From the same report, they also found that between 2004 and 2006, the province attracted more than 250,000 mountain bike tourists alone from out of province. And again, noting that this is an affluent group. In 2015, Destination BC did a study noting the economic return that mountain bike tourists alone bring to the province. And in 2017, the Ontario Ministry of Tourism did a study where they found that cycle tourists spend more and stay longer than the average tourist. Finally, City of Vancouver did their own study in 2015 and found that cycle tourists spend an average of $990 when they visit. So the next part of my presentation are these 29 tips that we put together for hotels, restaurants, B&Bs, cafes on the coast. And I'll go fairly quickly through them, almost like a Pechakucha presentation. So the first thing that cycle tourists think about when they're picking a destination to come to is, what are the roads like? What are the shoulders like? Is it safe to cycle there? And so you can see that it ranges from scary to AAA, all ages and ability, which is really what we're looking for when we want to be safe when we're cycling. So that's one of our primary concerns. Track has been collecting information on problem spots on the Sunshine Coast. And most recently, we've been given an opportunity to provide some input to MOTI on some of these problem areas. So the second thing in attracting cycle tourists is to expect large groups. Now, some of you might have noticed that the Sunshine Coast is now becoming a popular day trip for people to take the first ferry over, do a long cycle in a group to Sechelt, Pender, come back. And what's always involved in these day trips is a stop in an establishment. So if you're a restaurant or a cafe and you can handle large groups, then you're going to receive this custom. Also, when cyclists come into town and they're looking for a place to stop and spend their money, the first thing they're thinking about is, where can I go where I can keep my bicycle in sight? Because they're usually using very expensive bicycles, or they're cycle touring with all of their gear. And so that is one of their primary considerations. And so when I'm cycle touring and I've got a fully loaded bike, this is my preference, is to just lean it on a wall somewhere. If there is a rack such as this one, I may use it if it's not crowded and I don't have to worry about my front wheel buckling. But a rack like this with a fully loaded bike, I'm going to avoid like the plague. If an establishment is willing to fill my water bottle from the tap, then I'm a loyal customer forever. And it's always great when a B&B or a hotel gives cyclist-specific directions. So for example, telling us to take Marine Drive instead of the bypass, or making sure that we know not to go up School Road. If it's a hotel, we always really appreciate having a ground floor so that we don't have to schlep our gear up to the second floor. And the second kind of consideration next to what are the roads are like is, can we bring our bikes into the room? So we're usually traveling with expensive bikes when we're quite uncomfortable with the idea of just locking them up to a post overnight. And so this will make or break our accommodation choice usually. If that's not available and maybe we're staying in an Airbnb or something, then we need secure parking. And it doesn't have to be fancy in the garage, in the shed. We don't even care if you have a messy garage. If you clear space for us, we just want to know that our bike is safe. And then I guess an alternative is at least having some covered parking for us. So a proprietor who's able to give us information about where we can go for repairs and supplies is always appreciated. And having specific information targeted to cyclists on the website is also appreciated. Where can we cycle when we're here for the weekend? What are some popular trails to go on? It's always great too when a proprietor or a cafe owner or somebody can give us tips about off-highway options. We're always looking to get off the highway no matter where we are. And a lot of off-coast cyclists might not know about Lower Road or Red Roofs Road. Now the track has developed an app, the Sunshine Coast Bike Route app, and this app describes scenic routes and hill grades and amenities where grocery stores are, but also stops of interest like breweries. So it's great when an establishment can offer free maps, or at least have maps for sale, or maybe in a hotel room, then they have maps on the walls. And then another thing that's really nice to cater to cycle tourists is to have restaurant menus in the room. So imagine that we have spent the day cycling to a B&B in Tawanek, and the last thing we want to do is have a shower and then jump on our bikes and cycle into Seashell for dinner. So having a takeout menu was really appreciated. But the next morning, the first thing we're going to be asking the proprietor is, where's the biggest, greasiest spoon breakfast that we can find in town that morning as we hit the road again? So e-bike tourists aren't that plentiful now. That might increase in the future, but catering to these tourists, these cycle tourists, is really easy. They just need a simple plug to plug in their e-bike overnight. And there is some discussion around putting some e-bike charging stations all up and down the coast. And my view on this is that e-bike tourists are basically just need one charger per community to get them from community to community up the coast. They're not like electric cars where they're needing to charge up all the time. So somewhere like having one near a grocery store or in Lower Gibsons where we're going to kill 2 hours while we charge it is pretty much all we need. So with mountain bike tourists, we want to be careful. We've got water conservation on the coast. So they might want to be rinsing down their bikes. So you want to be careful about that as a proprietor. But one thing we really do love is access to laundry, because we're traveling with very minimal clothing. And so that's always a really nice perk for us. And mountain bikers in particular, at the end of the day, ripping up the trails, they love nothing better than to sit around and talk about the great day that they've had on the Sunshine Coast. And so providing some kind of space for this to happen, it doesn't have to be fancy. It can just be a fire pit in the backyard, or even just a bunch of picnic tables so that they can congregate. And I just included a picture of this guy because the lone cycle tourists will often be camping, but then every once in a while spring for a B&B so they can have a hot shower. And so providing a space where they can congregate will be attractive for them as well. And then of course, as cycle touring grows, and the more that you become known for cycle touring, then you're going to start attracting groups. So having establishments that can accommodate larger groups is also going to be a plus and bring these tourists to the coast. So the next few little items are what we might consider little extras. So the first are offering basic bike tools for use at accommodation sites, and things like a bike pump, or even a complimentary bike lock. So when cycle tourists travel, They usually don't bring their locks. They're heavy. They don't want to bring them. So if you have a complimentary bike lock that they can use on a Saturday when they're cycling around the coast and then return at the end of the weekend would be really appreciated. Also, selling high energy snacks in the rooms or having bike tubes for sale. And then again, if you're in Tawanak and people are coming over with their bikes, you might offer a shuttle service from the ferry. And some cyclists are going to be pretty wet by the time they get to you in Madeira Park or wherever you are. So having a drawing room where they can just come in and take everything off would also be really appreciated. So I just included this slide because Italy is very well known for their network of bike hotels, and people like me can spend hours on their websites just drooling at all the amenities and facilities that they offer. But Italy is on the map as a very desirable cycle touring destination. So TRAC's feeling is that a ferry to ferry safe cycling route would be a major draw for cyclists across the country who are looking for these special routes. Think of the Kettle Valley, or there's ones in Quebec or whatever. And our feeling is that if you build it, they will come. And so I will leave it at that and see if there's any questions.
Thank you very much, Kylie. Very, very informative. Council, I'll turn it over to you. Do you have any questions? Do you have any trips planned? Councilor D'Andrade.
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you for that. I think it's very important. And I agree with, I mean, I haven't done lately a lot of biking, but I've done a lot in the past, and all what I said is true. So I'm so happy you're bringing this to the coast. And I truly believe we can, and I was quite impressed with the statistic that they spend more. I mean, now that you think it's logical, right? By the time they stop, and they are also more affluent, but you don't think about these things. And because they don't have the car, they don't bring stuff from Vancouver, right? Load on Costco. And so yeah, I think it's important that, and hopefully the coast will open their eyes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilor Ladwig.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you as well. I found it really informative and definitely made me think about the contribution cyclists make that I hadn't thought about before. I was just curious, how do you market to these groups? Like what are the platforms? Is it Tourism BC? How do you get the word? So even if we are doing all these things, so I'm an Airbnb owner or I'm a hotel owner, how do I network and get the word out there that I have storage, secure storage and things like that?
So I think the best person to answer that question is probably the folks at Sunshine Coast Tourism and Destination BC. But I will say that as a cycle tourist, a word of mouth does play a strong role in it. So friends of mine just did a trip in Quebec 2 summers ago called Le Petit Train du Nord. And we're like looking it up online, and okay, that's where we want to go as soon as we can. So word of mouth, and cycling is a fairly close-knit community. And then in terms of the amenities like bicycle parking and stuff like that, that would all be on the website of that particular establishment. There's a lot that they can do to just demonstrate, that we are catering to cyclists.
Thank you. Kylie, do you know, or is this information you provided to us available through our website, the town website?
It's available on the TRAC website. So this presentation is actually on the TRAC website. So I could send you the link to that. Would that be useful?
Yeah, maybe Elizabeth can take a look at that and just see whether or not it's something we can put in terms of information for people who are looking for that kind of information. The link or the information would be useful.
Yeah, I should also say that Sunshine Coast Tourism is working on a project with Johan Stroman called Sustainable Sunshine Coast. And so they were actually the ones who were the initiative for us to come up with these tips. So I believe they're putting a website together, which we'll be launching next week as well.
That's great. Thank you. Councilor D'Andrade.
Just a quick question. Places like that you mentioned, like Italy, a huge biking destination. when you look for information, do you go to the municipality, to the government website, or you usually go to tourism?
It varies.
Okay.
It definitely varies. I mean, some places have an established route, and that route will have a website. Sometimes it's generally the route will have a website. Yeah, not typical. Well, yeah, I'm not really sure. I think that's my answer.
I think my point is how much. I mean, our website is quite full already. Sometimes it's challenging to find, but obviously it's just waiting. Is it how much is important that the town maybe perhaps has a icon or a page that we do that, or to Sunshine Coast Tourism is pretty much doing, and we should not focus on that. I think it's just more.
Yeah, perhaps a link to the Sunshine Coast Tourism website, and making sure that they have a special website catering to cycle tourists might be the route, and that's definitely something we could look into to make sure that they do have that.
Okay.
I think it's something we all do. I mean, we are also going to be promoting our bike routes, our bike trails and stuff like that. So I think it's something that just providing information, as much information as you can provide about the community and options. I think that's useful.
Mhm.
And Kylie, what's your view? Pedal versus electric?
Depends what I'm wearing and what I have to do. If I don't have a lot of time and I have a lot of errands, then it's my e-bike. And if it's raining, then it's my e-bike. If I have a lot of time in the world and I want some recreation, then it's my regular bike. So
Yeah.
Is it business or play, basically?
I've ordered an e-bike simply because I live on the hill. That's
Great.
great. Well, thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you for and also thank you to TRAC for all the work that you do for the community. We really appreciate that.
Thanks, everybody. Have
Thank
a good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, our next delegation council is Bob Brash, Executive Director, Truck Loggers Association. And Bob, I think I saw you in the waiting room there in the room.
Sure, I think we're good now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you are. Hey, Bob. Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, pleasure. And thanks, Mayor and Council, for making time for me tonight. Greatly appreciated. So I know you got a busy night, so I'll get right into the quick presentation I have here and go from there. So hopefully my technical competence comes through here. So does that work? Oh, one more button.
Yeah. Good.
That should work now, I guess.
Got you. Thanks.
Again, thanks for the opportunity tonight. Sort of quick reminder about the TLA. Been around for a few years now, 78 years. Got about 500 members across BC, including about 20 community members. So thanks to Gibsons for the support over the years very much. Mainly comprised of logging contractors, subcontractors. We've got First Nation participants. We've got suppliers, service industry type folks, and folks now that actually have tenure and manage it either by themselves or in joint ventures. We work a lot with the provincial government. In fact, we just had a video call with the Minister of Forest today. So we work with the provincial government a lot to work on prosperity of the industry, and we've been a pretty strong and leading voice, I think, over the years for the people working in the forest sector. Obviously, we're concerned about sustainability of the forest, and we're going to talk a bit about that, and quite involved in forest education and scholarships. Who do we work with? I mentioned the provincial government, major licensees, labor, the value-added sector, BC First Nations Forestry Council. Safety is a big part of our job with BC Forest Safety Council and WorkSafe BC, and then we work a lot with other associations, and that was even illustrated today in our meeting with the minister. But the core of the presentation is just to sort of bring you up to speed on some of the challenges, and there's a few headlines in the newspaper these days about forestry, so lots of people talking about it. But we are concerned, I guess, on these major fronts, the sort of investment climate in British Columbia. Right now, lumber prices are a little bit high. Hopefully they're going to drift down. That's what seems to be happening right now. So So that's good for business in terms of profits for the major companies. It's good for keeping contractors and people in the forest sector employed. So that's great. But what we're concerned about is the changes that government and all of us want to happen in the forest sector to move it forward. And those profits and dollars should come back into British Columbia. And frankly, more of those dollars have to come back into British Columbia. We're concerned about the long-term certainty of the land base that we have available for forestry. We're concerned about the cost structure in the industry, that it's a little high, and we have a very complex regulatory environment. We're not competitive by Canadian standards, let alone global standards. By no means, by the way, read into that we want any relaxation of the environmental standards. That's not what we're after, but there's always sort of efficiencies that folks can find. We're concerned about the consistent information about the forest sector out there, but I'll talk about that in a second here. And this presentation has been preempted a little bit by the Premier's announcement and the Minister of Forest announcement the other day about their modernizing forest policy in British Columbia, their intentions document that came out subsequent to me presenting this to you folks for consideration. I had to talk a tiny bit about working forest and old growth. There's a lot of data out there, a lot of opinions. The concern is, again, as I already mentioned, about how accurate a lot of that data is and how it's being portrayed. But more importantly, there's a decided lack of constructive dialogue out there right now about forestry and where it's supposed to head. And certainly a polarized debate. And you really have to ask who is talking to who these days. And will that change with the intentions document that the government's put out? And one of the big conversation pieces we had with the minister today is, I think as associations, and by default, that means communities that are part of our membership, we want to have input into what they're talking about doing. While we agree with many of the elements of their modernizing forest policy document, the devil is in the proverbial details, and that's where we're concerned. We don't believe harvesting is always a yes or no proposition. The folks in our business, love them or hate them, have been pretty innovative over the years, and we've adapted to a lot of change over the decades. And frankly, we should be proud of how innovative our loggers are. And if there's new challenges out there, we can probably succeed at them. The economic contributions of the forest sector remain significant. And we're hoping that the new broader vision that the BC government's put out is going to lead towards a better forest industry. And there are three major things they're looking at: is increasing forest sector participation, enhancing stewardship and sustainability, and probably most importantly, strengthening the social contract. So we support those type of changes. So I guess what we want to sort of say is our membership is predominantly sort of rural based. That's where we come from. And we have good first-hand information on the forestry sector and its economic contributions to area. We can assist in public education information, even if there's some forest policy that you like to sort of develop and want some assistance with. But probably most importantly, if there's advocacy efforts that we can work together on, where we can sort of come to some common ground that we want to sort of lobby the federal and provincial governments to sort of implement, then that would be a great thing for all concerned. And lastly, as we sort of said before, is we intend to work very hard with the provincial government on what the overall, vision for the sector is moving forward to ensure that it remains prosperous and that resource communities stay healthy. The last slide, I won't spend too much time on it, but we're pretty good at getting the work out. We got quarterly magazines, and we have an annual convention. Didn't have it last year, but probably obvious reasons why we didn't have it last year. But we're hoping it's in January, so we're hoping it's going to happen this year. We're planning for it to be in person. And so far, things are tracking that might be able to actually happen. And then, of course, we're pretty strong in the social media also. So that was the essence of my presentation. Should there be any questions, I'd be more than pleased to do my best to sort of answer them.
Bob, thank you very much for your presentation. The logging forestry is still important to the economy of the Sunshine Coast. We recognize that. So that how that's managed and how that's done is also important to the Sunshine Coast. And then I think that's where the the linkage and the community linkage and working together with the industry and with the community and with the broader community is very important. And First Nations, of course, now much more involved than they used to be. So, Councillor, do you have any questions? Councillor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor Beamish, and thank you for your presentation, Bob. It's interesting, the payback from the forest practice, even in this community, when you look at the Sunshine Coast Community Forest Legacy Foundation, they pour hundreds of thousands of dollars back in to the community, and a lot of charities and groups would be really hamstrung without the contribution that comes from the forest industry, and just simple practices. Here on the Sunshine Coast, there's one of the businesses has a Christmas tree decorating thing at the holiday season. And in the past, trees were purchased. In a lot of cases, they came from the States. And over the past couple of years, working with the community forest, they've used culled trees that would normally be culled out in the forests. And rather than them just ending up being mulched, they serve a Christmas purpose, decorate, put money back into the community. You're not trucking trees hundreds of miles. And so, the forest industry really does play such a valuable part to our community. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Yeah, and I know it was only a comment without a question, but you did raise something that, where there might be some common ground for advocacy, because part of the element of the government plan is to throw more tenure towards First Nations, but also communities. And we strongly support more tenures going to communities. We think that's a great thing, and especially if one of the goals of the government is to sort of improve the social contract. There's a concern because I'm familiar with how it works and the stumpage and stuff, and it's a favorable system for community tenures, which allows them to have the opportunity to be more profitable and throw that money back into the local initiatives that you're referring to. There is some mention in that intentions document about changing the way stumpage is paid by community tenures. What that really means is they want to get more money out of you. So I think that's something that we may have to sort of try to work with you, because that's not something that we'd be in favor for sure.
Yep. Okay, Council, I think it's important that we also acknowledge that the largest employer on the Sunshine Coast and in our community depends upon fiber supply. And so that's something we all need to acknowledge, that whether or not we support seeing trees going down the coast on the backs of trucks, our community economy is based upon fiber supply with the largest employer. So something to think about. So, thank you, Bob. I appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Yes, I appreciate the opportunity. Look forward to chatting again also. Thank you.
Councillor Lumley, did you want to say something?
No, I was just waving goodbye.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks again, everybody.
Yeah, okay.
Bye.
Okay, next on our agenda is inquiries. Item 6, inquiries. And Corporate Officer?
Yes, if anyone wishes to direct a question to council about an item on the agenda, please raise your hand. I do not see any hands raised, Mayor Beamish.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next item on the agenda tonight is to acknowledge and say goodbye to Gravity. And our youth counselor, the Gravity has been with us for just over 2 years now. Or just, I guess, I'm not sure how the term started, probably just slightly less than 2 years. But on behalf of Council Gravity, I want to thank you for your service and participation as our 4th youth counselor. You are number 4. You started with the 2019-20 school year with Ailish McKenzie and continued in 2020-2021 with Evie Clark. And we really appreciate that. Last year, you worked with Ailish to develop and implement the Sunshine Coast Youth Council a significant accomplishment of which you can both be very proud. I and council have appreciated your many insightful comments and contributions to council, debates and deliberations over this last year. You haven't hesitated to participate, which we really encourage that. And you represented youth interests and perspectives very well and did not hesitate to speak up at appropriate times. Well, we will miss you and your participation in our meetings. We wish you well in your future endeavors and in your studies, because I know you're going on to school as well, Evie. We look forward to your sunny disposition and participation in our meetings as well. And we will look forward to working with you next year and to working with us to select the next youth counselor who will back you up. So to both of you, it's been really great. I will let council members say a few words, but only after Gravity, you've had an opportunity to say a few words. And we've enjoyed by Chris Wolf of the Rotary Club as well. And maybe perhaps before you speak, Gravity, I'll actually let Mr. Wolf speak and on behalf of the Rotary Club. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor Beamish. It's my privilege to be here with you at council tonight, and to wish Gravity in particular all the best as you go forward into wherever you're going next. I understand from the Mayor's comments and from what I've heard from other sources that your contribution at council has been very well appreciated, and we congratulate you on that. And congratulations to Evie also for your support. You've both been a great credit to yourselves, to your families, to your school, and to the town. So we're very pleased to wish you well.
Thank you, Chris. So, Gravity, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. That is very kind, and I'm very grateful for the Rotary Club support in this. And oh no, I'm concerned I'm glitching now. Okay, yeah. There we go. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is not fantastic. Anyways, I was just saying thank you very much, and also to the town of Gibsons for this awesome program. It is definitely a cool program. I know you guys are the only ones who have it, but it's a great opportunity to actually get involved and like see how things are run, because it's one thing to like go and like just watch the meetings, but it's a completely different thing to actually like be in it and realize that like you need to understand what's going on. And there is definitely that whole thing where it's like you learn through doing. And I think that that's something I've definitely figured out. I will say it's a bit scary coming to these meetings, especially at the beginning. Evie, I don't know if you've experienced that, but you know, everyone, it's definitely much more official than all the other meetings I've ever been to. So but I also think that to some degree I do like, even though it feels scary, I do feel like everyone here is just trying to do the best. Like they're making decisions that are going to benefit people the best. And like, it does, like, I know you guys care about what we have to say. So it's just been a great opportunity. And I am right now, I feel the most confident, obviously, because you learn like throughout the whole process. So I hope that I have said things that have been helpful, and I am just, yeah, it's been an awesome experience and I will miss it, but I know Evie will do a great job. So yeah. And I'll also be in touch through probably the Sunshine Coast Youth Council, at least for a little bit longer. So anyways, yes, and thank you very much, Mr. Wolf. But yeah, thanks so much for everything. I've definitely learned a lot, and I will keep everything I've learned with me, and maybe I'm going to the University of Toronto, by the way, if anyone was interested, to study life sciences. So a little bit different, but maybe I'll get involved in student governance or something. So we'll see where the wind blows. But yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilors, Councilor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor Beamish. You know, Gravity, it's been absolutely fabulous having you with us. And the work that you did with Ailish in getting the youth council going. That's great. Really looking forward to working with Evie, but two things I'd like to mention is one, you sat on council and it was amazing having the perspective of a lens through the eyes of tomorrow, which I think often has been humbling for us, that you suddenly see things in a much different light when we're seeing them through your eyes. So that's invaluable. But I would also like to thank you and Evie and the Interact team and the other high school students who have risen to public functions and volunteered your services. You know, the Christmas dinner at the Legion, the Easter dinner at the Legion, the work you did through search and rescue. And I know it was sort of a hair-raising experience for some of you with the Festival of Lights, but you know, it was one of those relationships where everyone benefited from it, hopefully. And I'd particularly like to thank the Rotary Club because their support with this initiative, you know, we weren't sure when we ventured into it what public reaction was going to be, but with the support of the Rotary Club, it made it possible without having to, you know, incur huge expenses for your massive stipend. So thanks to Rotary, because it is, you know, huge support. Just a comment, there is a plaque in the lobby of the town hall that has the councillors' names, and very soon there will be a plaque acknowledging Rotary support with this project and the fact that the town of Gibsons is one of the first communities to have students on council, and your names will be engraved on that plaque. So hopefully once COVID is out of the way and people are coming back into the town hall, you'll be able to bring your grandchildren in to say, hey, look, this was me back in.
Number 4.
Thank you so
Number
much.
5. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, you guys have been great. The other benefit I actually see on this is that I'm absolutely convinced that when members of the public or people who want to get something off their chest and they look at council and then they say, oh, there's a young person there, I better behave, that it has improved the decorum of council chambers, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for that. So Evie, we look forward to working with you next year and in September, and we will be looking for another grade 11 student. So talk it up. So Councilor Diandrad? Yeah.
I think Councilor Ladwig, would you like to go first because you raised your hands before me? Okay, so I won't repeat. I mirror everything that Councilor Crow said and Mayor Beamish. So I'll take a different perspective. First of all, you're not only the 4th councillor, but you were the one with the longest term. And so that's, you were here 2 years and you came a lot of the meetings. I mean, this year you're full-time, and when you were like with Ailish, you were coming a lot. So I think you had at least first or second year of university in politics, and you saw firsthand how things are done, and you saw firsthand how it's challenging to make change and to move forward in a democratic platform. And this is very important because your future depends on this, right? It depends on people that take, this road, and it's not an easy road, I can tell you. So congratulations, because you went through that. So I think you learned a lot. I'm sure this is going to play an incredible role in the future, whether you decide or not to be. But so you understood, you saw the world in a different way. And finally, I think the presence of youth council, I know what Mayor Beamish said, but to me is accountability. I look at you and I think about it. Everything that I'm doing here is for you. It's for youth. We need to respect, especially in the, in the conundrum that we are in this planet right now. So I wish you the best. And whether you're in life science, I don't think it's going to escape politics.
Councillor Ledwig?
I know we're tight on time, so I'll keep this short. I just want to say, I think you guys are awesome. It's so inspiring to see young people engaged in their community. It's tough enough to even get adults out to engage in the community. So when young people do, that's even more inspiring. So thank you so much once again. You guys did a great job this year, and good luck in your future endeavors. And please come back and say hi when you're not in Toronto. And maybe we'll see you next year. Thank you so much to both of you.
Councillor Lumley?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to wish you good luck, Gravity, because you clearly don't need it. And Evie, you have big shoes to fill. But I really appreciate you guys bring down the mean average of this group. I mean, the word is youth. An injection of youth anytime is good. So I appreciate everything you did and appreciate what Evie's going to do. So yeah, have fun.
Yeah, thank you. As a final word, Patrick Weiler sends his regards, by the way. He couldn't be here tonight, but he sends his regards. And I did have a chance recently to speak at the AVICC conference, and again reaffirmed with them that we have the youth program. I had several communities asking, how's that working? And I hope sometime in the future to be able to make a presentation at a UBCM program or an AVICC program specifically on the youth counselor program, and encourage other communities how to get. Many other communities are just they don't know how that would work. How could you possibly do that? How does it work? Well, we did it, and we really thank you guys for being part of that success that we've had. So thank you again. So Gravity.
I just something really quick. Yes, I wanted to thank everyone for everything you said, and I also wanted to say it would be interesting, because I know there are lots of communities that have been asking if you guys have already gone through all of the processes to get the program started. So I don't know if that's information that's like allowed to be shared, if it's public information, but if it is, it would be like, just make like a nice clear, like even on the website, just like a clear spot where it kind of has like a rundown of how it works, so that you can just tell people, oh, check out this part of the website, and then it'll be like done. Like you don't need to worry about explaining it. Anyways.
Good points. No, good points all. Councillor Kroll?
Just very quickly, and good, very valid point, Gravity. We have been contacted by some other communities, and we have shared our the information that we have available as it's evolved, because what we started out with was amended and it's been changed. So we're keeping it current and making it available. There's, through the Climate Caucus, there's a youth group, and we're advocating that, youth get on council in other communities.
Yeah. Well, thank you again very much, guys. And we will move on to our agenda now. And we are going now to what is on our old agenda is 8.5, notice on title issues, and now 8. And I would invite the Director of Planning to come forward on this issue.
Actually,
Yeah.
The corporate officer is going to present this one.
Corporate Officer, okay, then that's who will come forward then. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
So this is an item that's being brought forward under section 57, sub 1 of the community charter. And a copy of that section has been attached to your agenda package, to this report. This is with regard to building regulation and the enforcement of building regulation. So it entitles, section 57 of the community charter entitles the corporate officer to register a note on title for buildings or other structures that are not safe and that have been or have been constructed without a valid permit or inspection. So this is about not only enforcement of building regulation, but it's also about mitigation of risk of liability to the town by putting a note on title that informs a potential purchaser that there are issues with regard to the property. This report lists 3 properties where a building or other structure has been determined to be unsafe or is unlikely to be usable for its expected purpose, or where something was constructed that required permits or inspections under a bylaw, regulation, or enactment, which have not been obtained or completed to the satisfaction of the building official. The building official has sent me a request to put a note on title for these properties. He is available to speak to the facts behind the request if needed. And the Director of Planning is also available to speak to issues around the zoning bylaw and or the building code if needed. So we have 3 properties right now, and we require a resolution of council in order for myself to be authorized to place a notice on title. So the following list of properties are non-compliant due to permits applied for or issued, but no inspection scheduled, and or construction has taken place without a valid permit. We have 1038 Venture Way. This property has been using tents within which to operate the business. Tents are not permitted for the use, and building permits were not obtained, which is in contravention of the building bylaw, the building code, the fire code, and the zoning bylaw. Development permits were also not obtained. The tents that are being used are unsafe and permits are required. Staff have been trying to work with the property owner and business owner over the past years to gain voluntary compliance. However, the contraventions remain outstanding. We also have 566 Marine Drive. There are a total of 3 stop work orders that were placed on this property in 2011 and 2013 after the building official found construction work was being carried out without a building permit. This work carried several contraventions, including construction without a building permit. The site is in contravention of the zoning bylaw and is located within 2 development permit areas, DPA 1 and DPA 2, and a development permit has not been applied for. Staff have been trying to work with the property owner over the past several years to gain voluntary compliance. However, the contraventions remain outstanding. The property is currently for sale, and it would be prudent to ensure that any potential buyer is aware of the safety concerns. The 3rd property is 721 Wynn Road. The town previously placed a Section 57 notice on title. However, the owner at the time, a different owner, appealed to council to remove it and promised to bring the building up to code. Council removed the notice on title per the appeal, and the property owner then sold the property without addressing the safety issues and completing the updates as promised. The current owner is aware of the outstanding contraventions and was notified to apply for permits to address them. The property has been issued a development variance permit and a form and character development permit. However, a building permit remains outstanding. Staff have been trying to work with the multiple property owners over several years to gain voluntary compliance. However, the contraventions remain outstanding. We do need to provide opportunity for the persons involved, the property owners, to be heard. Registered letters were sent to each of the property owners, inviting them to attend today's meeting, and I have received confirmation that each of those registered letters was received. So we are asking that the building official, John Hart, who is present, and each of the property owners are provided an opportunity to be heard from the mayor, and that the corporate officer be authorized to file a notice at the land title office stating that a resolution has been made by the Town of Gibsons Council under Section 57 of the Community Charter against each of the lands for those 3 properties.
Thank you.
I will turn it back over to you, Mayor Beamish.
Thank you, Corporate Officer. I'll now ask if there's anybody here with representing 1038 Venture Way that wishes to speak to the proposed notice on title.
And if anyone is here to speak to that, if you would please raise your hand, I will enable you to join the meeting. I see no hands raised with regard to that property.
Seeing none, I'll ask the building inspector, John Hart. Mr. Hart, has there been any change in the status of this since they were informed of the notice on title?
Yeah, I had a recent meeting of today with the property owner and the business owner for 1038 Venture Way. And there has been an email sent out by the planning department on steps to follow for compliance.
Is there any indication that compliance is forthcoming?
I know, that's all I know is that they have received an email today from the planning department, and conversations were taking place for quick action for compliance. I'm confident that that we will hear from them soon.
Director of Planning, do you have anything to add?
I don't, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Council, I'd like to deal firstly with the 1038 Venture Way. In terms of putting notice of title, notice of title can always be revoked and then taken back when compliance is dealt with. So, Councillor Ludwig.
Well, that's essentially what I wanted information on. How do you have this removed?
Either the building official lets me know that compliance has been achieved and requests that I file a cancellation of the notice, or alternatively, the property owner can apply to council to have it removed.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Kroll.
With respect to registering the notice on title and removing it, what costs are involved?
There is a filing fee for filing a notice. I don't know the exact amount, but I believe it's less than $50 to file it.
May I continue, sir?
Yes, go ahead.
My recommendation with this, if a letter has gone out to the building owner and the building user, that a time be set that it need to comply, and that if they fail to comply, then actions taken then. Now, I appreciate from what was given in the report that there has been ongoing action, and I know we have had other businesses in the area that have probably gone through all the proper procedures to have tents in place. So it doesn't seem that it's that onerous a task, and if they're given a definite deadline, it's now or never, then that would be my feeling with respect to this one.
Yeah, I think the deadline was tonight. It's now. That's why we're here. Councillor Lumley.
I'm really hesitant to. I like the fact that it's come before council, and that we've received the document, and then you've given people the right to be heard. I don't know. I think for the first one, I guess, for 1038 Venture Way, that's Coastal Craft, I would imagine, right? Is that what we're talking about?
I believe that's the name of the company, though.
Okay.
The title of the company on title is different. I believe that's the name of it that you're doing business under.
I probably wouldn't vote to file this notice. I'd want to make sure that because I actually know them, and I know they employ. They're a really unique business within our community. They employ people in the community. I'd really want to hear it from the horse's mouth that they have no intentions of complying with any safety or fire code violations. I don't know. Sending out a letter, maybe they need more time. I don't know. I'd almost like to see it that they're just saying, well, we're not going to do it. And then I guess at that point you'd say, okay, we've given you every indication, or we've given you time and council's effort to remedy the situation. But I don't know. I probably wouldn't be in favor of it. I'm not intimate with these other things. There's not a lot of information here to be able to, it seems pretty severe. I mean, I think on each one of these things, I'd like some more information. But you know, as far as like fire codes and building codes, I mean, I don't know, has the fire department inspected this area? Has the fire inspector gone in there and said this is unsafe or this doesn't meet fire, or is it? I mean, there's bits of leeway in everywhere you are, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I personally, I just don't think I have enough information to be able to be comfortable voting on this, like to file these notices. But.
The corporate officer first and director of planning.
Thank you. I do want to hear from the Director of Planning on this. There has been, these are all long-standing issues. These have been issues that have been approached by our staff for a very long time already, and I will let the Director of Planning speak further to that. Once the resolution is made, part of the note that goes on title is that the file is made available for inspection. The entire contents of the file have been uploaded for council to review at a confidential link for council so that they can see the contents. And if anyone else asks, we would be required to make the file available to them as well. So you would be able to go into the file at any time and look at it quite carefully. I'll let the Director of Planning speak as to what's been done to date and over the last years to resolve the issue.
Thank
Director of
you.
Planning.
Thank you, Mayor. So yeah, we have been working with this property owner for 2 years now. The fire department has done an inspection and listed and they have a list of contraventions to the fire code. And the building official can speak more to those details. But we've given them plenty of opportunity to bring the property into compliance, or at least bring it to a place where it is safe. And unfortunately, it's still not at that place. Today, John did have a meeting with the property owner, and just to hear them out and talk through the steps that are required to bring the property up to code, because it is a business that is employing a lot of people, and there are some serious safety concerns. So that is a liability for the town. They can, if this notice is registered on title, it relieves the town of that liability, but they can always work towards bringing the property into compliance and bringing the buildings up to code. And they do have a plan. They have had a plan since the beginning, for 2 years, but we still haven't seen any applications or any significant moves towards safety. So if John wants to speak to more details about that, he can, but this would just relieve the town of any liability, and they can always work towards removing that notice on title.
In my experience, notice on title is the last recourse after everything else has been tried by a town. And I'm going to take my lead from the building inspector on that and say that everything's been done. And the owner was given the opportunity to appear here tonight and to speak with council, and chose not to do that. So that we do need to take a look at moving forward on an issue. Councillor Kroll?
Just for clarification, there seems to be a bit of a breakdown here between the property owner and the business operating on the premise. So putting a notice on title per se does not really affect the operation of the business, because they're only a tenant on a piece of property that's owned by a property owner, correct? Is that?
Yeah, so the property is being leased by the business, but we've been working with the property owner and the business together, and today's meeting was with both the property owner and the business. So they understand the process and have agreed to it, and are working together to bring the property into compliance. One of the biggest issues is the spray booth that is in a tent, and they have a plan to bring in a proper building that will meet the fire code and the building code standards. But yeah, the business needs to work with the property owner and the town and the fire department. So there's many different players in this property.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the tent was originally created when Coastal Craft were building the 53-foot yachts, Kim's World and the like, and it was to accommodate them because they wouldn't fit in the shop they had. So my understanding now is they're not really building a lot of 53-foot yachts. I agree with what Councillor Lumley was saying about how it potentially could negatively impact on the business, but if there seems to be resolution in sight, then maybe this will be the trigger to do it.
So is anyone prepared to make a resolution relative to 1038 Venture Way? Councilor D'Andrade, you'll move the resolution that the corporate officer be authorized to file a notice land title and a resolution to be made by the town of Gibsons under sections 57 of the community charter against the land title for the following property, 1038 Venture Way. Okay. Moved by Councilor D'Andrade, seconded by? I'll second that. Further discussion? All in favor? Call the question. Opposed? 2 opposed. Motion carries. Motion carried. So we'll now move on to 566 Marine Drive. And you had the summary. I'm going to ask Mr. Hart to expand on the summary that was provided. John, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so that the property has been in non-compliance with building permit issues and as well as not completion of building permits, as well as encroachments and the requirements for, I think, 2 development permits that are required to be issued. And there's been numerous communication with the property owner, as well as there has been a potential possible sale on the property. So I recommended to put a bylaw contravention on the property to make any potential buyer or purchaser aware of the contraventions on the property.
What property is this, John?
It's a residential occupancy.
Okay. Okay. Councillor Kroll?
I didn't actually, if correct me if I'm right here, John, that this property owner has literally rebuilt the entire house, has he not? Sort of gradually as an ongoing endless renovation. Am I thinking of the same property?
You are. There are, as far as I know, there's only been 1 floor completed, which is the lower floor, and possibly some more work done on the 2nd floor. But all the building permits have expired, and sprinkler permit has expired, and letters have been sent out to renew and reapply for these building permits with no response.
Councillor Kroll?
I would, in this particular case, I would certainly support it, because for a new owner to walk into, you know, an absolute mess, and I'll say that in quotations, would be unfortunate. And, you know, there's, because of the location of the property and it being waterfront and one thing and another, and the fact that it's in 2 DP areas, I think it's important that any prospective purchaser be aware of what they're potentially walking into. So I would certainly be willing to support this.
I am going to first ask if anyone representing 566 Marine Drive is with us tonight and would like to speak to the motion.
If anyone representing 566 Marine Drive would please raise their hand. Yes, we have someone here. We have a Christy Dempster. I'm trying to move her over and I'm having a hard time doing it. Okay, I will continue. Just one moment. It's asking me to. It's possible I need to make her lower her hand first. Let me try that. I've been having a hard time moving people over today. I'm not sure why. I'm going to ask if one of my co-hosts could try. Tracy, as co-host, could you try moving her over and see if you have success in doing it?
There might be a way to let an attendee speak as well.
I've tried that and it says that she cannot because she's using an older version of Zoom.
Oh.
And that the only way to allow her to speak or be heard is to promote her to panelist. I had the same problem with someone else earlier, but I eventually was able to move them over. So I'm going to keep trying.
Okay, perhaps while you try that, could we go on to the Wynn Road one and try to get Krista there one way or the other? Would that work?
Sorry, what was that, Mayor Beamish? I was distracted.
If we move on to the third item, we're actually at going on to up to 9 o'clock now. We're just into our agenda.
Okay. I'm going to, if nothing else, I'm just going to keep trying. If not, I'll try and find another way to include Krista. Thank you.
So let's go on to Wynn Road, 721 Wynn Road. And we'll go to Mr. Hart again on that one for a review.
Yeah, thank you very much. So as of right now, as the development permits and permits for form and character has been issued to this property, it's taken quite a long time for that to take place, as well as the application for the building permit. As of right now, there are one item left for the application for building permit to be completed, which is electrical engineer to submit electrical drawings for a monitored alarm system that was agreed with while the application was being placed. But the property owner feels now that request by the building department is unfair. So the application for building permit is still incomplete.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to invite anybody representing 721 Wynn Road to step forward. Blake from the crowd, Blake, yeah. There you are. Yeah, saw you.
Have you got the picture too?
I had it. Yeah, yeah.
I'm getting all spazzy here. Hang on.
That's right. You just go ahead and yeah, there you are.
Well, I'm at the lake, so
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Okay, so I have maybe a 7-minute presentation that'll lay out my concerns and arguments, if council will allow me.
Yes, it's your time.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm just going to read it because it's one of those things, So I've read the criteria under which staff has recommended a notice on title be registered against my property at 721 Main Road. I don't deny what is being asserted. There has been work carried out on this building without a permit over the years, and there are significant safety concerns that still need to be addressed. I do wonder, however, why the behavior of the previous owner was brought into and determined to be material to these proceedings. I'm concerned that this might color your impression of me as the new property owner. When I purchased the property in July of 2016, the building was in terrible disrepair. It had been on the market for well over a year, and in spite of there being many interested buyers, all of them shied away due to the inherent problems. Because of my skills and industry experience, I decided to take the risk on the building. Since then, I have made many repairs, such as to several leaking pipes, replacing many finishes on the residential level, and a good many other cosmetic and accessibility related upgrades on the office level. Several years ago, I worked with the town's bylaw officer to compel Canada Post to remove a row of tall trees, after which, and under her supervision, I moved to solve a groundwater issue on my property that had been plaguing the post office parking lot for years. In late August 2018, I hired Olson Electric to relocate the residential level electrical panel to a central hallway and upgrade the meter box on a permit. This work was predated by an August 2nd, 2018 site tour of the property, including all 3 interior levels by the then DBI, Chester Mashinowski. I think I'm killing his name. I invited him to visit the site to review and discuss fire separations, additional paths of egress, my plans to reconfigure the front entrance, and to discuss the aforementioned work. The door upgrades and second exits are included in the work proposed in my building permit application. I followed all of his recommendations, and that DBI said he would talk to then FPO Dale Bogian, who I had been working with since his first site visit at my invitation on June 2nd, 2017. Dale had issued a report with some requirements noted, and I began immediately to address them. The aspects that remain are included in the building permit application the present DBI has in hand now. I have had subsequent visits from the FPO, including January 21st, 2019 by Rick Ruth, and on June 26, 2020 by Rick Fashion. Elite Fire Protection Limited reviews and services my equipment and emergency lighting on a yearly basis. Throughout this process of addressing the significant concerns facing me, I have invested a considerable amount of money on repairs, but also in the hiring of an architect, code consultant, electrical engineer, and a structural and civic engineer for development variance and building permits work. Yes, it has taken me a long time to get there. In fact, the Director of Planning first offered to place a notice on title on January 7th of last year, when I was slow in beginning the process. And here we are again now at the moment that I am about to begin the work, and there was a proposal from staff before you. I have taken all the steps, spent the money, submitted my building permit application, and my lead carpenter is scheduled to begin in 3 weeks. My financing to begin this project in earnest depends on having a building permit and having a budget that is based on stamped plans. A notice on my otherwise clean title will make financing more difficult and more expensive. All aspects of my building permit application are now submitted. There is a significant blockage, however, which has been created by my request for clarification of the wording in the town's bylaw, specifically the sprinkler bylaw. The DBI has rejected my electrical engineer's fire alarm design on the grounds that this project is considered to be new construction. As I'm unable to find it in the bylaw, I have asked the DBI to provide the wording that supports this assertion. His response was to issue the letter that compelled me to appear before you this evening. It will cost $30,000 to completely remove and replace my existing BC Building Code compliant interconnected fire alarm system with a new system. I cannot justify the expenditure. The choice, as the DBI presented it to me, is to reduce the number of apartments from the existing 4 non-conforming dwelling units down to 2, in which case the sprinkler bylaw is not triggered. This would result in fewer homes for the same number of people. In all my 45 years in the construction business, I have never heard a project such as this referred to as new construction. By every definition I can find on the web, this does not qualify as new construction. Section 18.5 of the bylaw says Definitions of words and phrases used in this bylaw that are not included in the definitions in this part have the meanings commonly assigned to them in the context in which they are used in this bylaw, considering the specialized use of terms with the various trades and professionals to which the terminology applies. Typically, new construction is that which is built from the ground up. Variations include projects where the floor area is being substantially increased. Never is bringing a building into compliance considered new construction, even if some walls are being relocated, as mine will be, with a new door and window. This is the argument I would have presented if my request for a meeting with the Director of Planning had been respected. It is also the argument I would have presented if the Chief Administrative Officer had afforded me the time. I asked the CAO for time on Friday, and my address appeared in this space on Monday. Time is what is missing from this, time for a legitimate concern with significant financial implications for the applicant to be resolved through available channels, and respect, which I have always shown staff in our many dealings over 5 years of me being a Gibsons resident. I'm asking council to reject this staff recommendation that a notice of title be registered against my property, not to delay it, but to reject it completely. The intention may be to protect the town's interests, but I experience it as a punitive act arising, in part at least, from a disagreement with the DBI's interpretation of the bylaw. I know a notice on title is not justified by any egregious behavior on my part and might severely affect my ability to achieve the financing I need to complete the work in a timely manner. This would be antithetical to our common purpose. Thank you, and I welcome your comments and questions.
Sorry, Mr. Blake.
I know you got all that, Mr.
yeah. Mr. Where am I? Yeah,
But I go on. You didn't miss much.
No, I appreciate, and I did hear what you're saying. I'm going to go to the Director of Planning. Director, do you have any observations on this particular one? There seems to be some disputes and some interpretations.
Yeah, this is a difficult one. We have been working with Blake over many years, and he's come a long way. It's this last piece of the sprinklering, or the sprinklering piece of our bylaw actually is what's not being met. And it's not that it's interpreted as new construction. It's definitely not new construction. There's a reference to our bylaw that allows the building official to consult with the fire chief and decide whether firefighting access is difficult or not. And the building official and the fire chief have deemed that it is difficult without sprinklers. So they'd like either they'd like it to be sprinklered or have a monitored system in place, because it is a volunteer fire department. So it is expensive. We recognize that. But it has been requested by the building official and the fire chief. So that seems to be the outstanding issue here. A notice on title could be placed on title until the sprinkler or the monitored system is in place, and then it could be removed. But I do recognize that Blake has come a very long way since 2 years ago when we first started conversations, and he has been compliant until this big bill has hit him. So
I'm go ahead, Councillor Kroll.
And well, there are a couple of comments I wanted to make here, because when this came before us, before form and council or form and character, there was issue that Mr. McLeod wouldn't, I think he had 3 tenants at the time, and he was in the throes of renovating a suite. And obviously, because he can't progress with the work, he can't get the building permit issued, which is impacting his ability to finance the project were he to proceed. And I believe with the form and character presentation that he brought to us, which was great, all sorts of things like community gardens and things that he was throwing into the mix to enhance the residential aspect of his project. It seems like we're potentially hampering him here from being able to get the financing if he had to proceed with this more expensive route. So, because we also restricted his ability to re-tenant the suites as they became vacant. So I sort of sense to a degree that Mr. McLeod's sort of between a rock and a hard place, because I don't know how many tenants he currently has. I know that I've referred people to his building from a business point of view, because I understand he has sort of wellness oriented tenants as on the ground floor. But I would like to think that we could seek some resolution without compromising his position to be able to acquire reasonable financing to move forward.
Yeah. I'm going to take a position that I feel that from what I've heard, both from the staff and Mr. McLeod, that there is an honest intention to work through the issues, some interpretation. And I'm going to recommend to council that this matter be deferred until the 20th of July and come back to council on that date and that see if what progress has been made. I mean, being very conscious as well of issues around safety and building. So, but there does appear to be at least an effort by Mr. McLeod to want to work with staff, and maybe in that interim time, the CIO and the director of planning and building inspector can get together and with Mr. McLeod and see if there's a solution. Councillor Lumley.
Yeah, and he's here and he's speaking to council. I mean, and he's clearly has an updated version of Zoom, so we have to give him that credit. Isn't Zoom free? I don't know. I don't remember paying for it, but yeah, I guess the only other thing would, if it came back to council, I guess the only thing I would imagine is if it was if it was that hill you'd have to die on, would you just expand your financing to like whatever I mean, obviously sprinklers are, and I think you referenced to this earlier, maybe before the meeting, Mayor Beamish, that even just the increased cost of steel and putting in sprinkler systems has driven prices through the roof. So maybe there's some sort of accommodation that he can make as far as a monitoring system. Maybe he could clearly, if he doesn't have this notice on it, he could get maybe complete his financing and maybe squeeze that one in there. So I definitely support the recommendation for sure.
Yeah. You would second that. So Mr. McLeod, you had another comment you wanted to make?
Yeah, I was just seconding that. No, just to Councillor Lumley's question there, it's Inspector Hart had reduced, working with the FPO, reduced the requirement from having to be the building having to be sprinkled to this monitored alarm system. As I mentioned in my presentation, the choice before me, as presented by John Hart, was either comply with what his preference is or his order is, or reduce the number of units from 4 to 2. So, theoretically, it's the same amount of people housed, maybe even if 1 or 2 more, because it would be two bedroom apartments upstairs. Now I have 2 1-bedrooms and 2.
Okay, I'm going to stop you only in the sense that we do have a motion on the floor, and the motion is to defer until the 20th of July, which point we'll bring it back and see what progress has been made, provided council agrees to that motion. So I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Okay, you have another month.
Thank you.
To work that out, and I'm sure the staff will work with you. So thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
Okay. I want to go back to corporate officer, be very mindful of time. We have one more of these to deal with, and then we have to look for another hour extension of this meeting. So corporate officer.
I have received an email from Krista Dempster, who is a realtor that was attempting to speak on behalf of the property owner. She apologizes. She wrote the following: "My apologies for having to leave the meeting. I have another meeting I have to attend shortly. My main question is the cost and process associated with getting this home up to standard or compliance."
And we wouldn't know that process. You could always talk to the building inspector about, but in terms of the cost, I don't know what the status of it is. So I got to go to Councillor Crowell, then Councillor Lumley.
Thank you, Mayor Beamish.
Really quick, sorry, David, can I just,
Yeah,
she
go ahead.
she sent that through MySpace, right? She didn't email you. She just.
No, she emailed me.
MySpace, okay.
No, she emailed me.
Okay, Councillor Crowell.
Okay, you know, I'm going to move that the notice on title be placed on this property. I think Mr. McLeod is a good example of what happens to a prospective buyer when there are issues with a building and an uninformed purchaser stumbles into it. The
Okay.
fact that it's the realtor who has a vested interest in not having anything on title, making the case on behalf of the owner, I don't think that's really acceptable. And in light of the fact that planning and the building inspector have been working with the owner, I would recommend that we place the order.
And that's on 566 Marine Drive.
566 Marine Drive.
Seconded by Councillor D'Andrade. Any further discussion on that, Council? Sorry for cutting you off, Councillor Crowell, but I'm trying to move ourselves into the evening. So, okay, all in favor? Okay, opposed? I'm sorry, Councillor Ladwig, I don't. Yeah, Councillor Ladwig, could you unmute yourself and let me know what you're trying to say?
I know. I think you're not seeing me tonight or something. I'm not sure what's going on. Anyways, I'm opposed to this one.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
You know, well, I'll be honest, I used to live in this building. I know the family, they're kind people.
Yeah.
They obviously are, they've been having some struggles getting this project done. They've been working away at it for a long time. They are now trying to sell the building. Anyone walking into this building knows that it requires work. Its walls are torn open. They would have to get a building permit to finish it. They're just trying to get out of it. I don't know what this does to the sale of the property once this is put on it, but they're trying to get out. And I just say, let them get out. The new buyers obviously knowing what they're walking into, and then they can carry on with John Hart and get the job done as it should be. But they're having trouble, or they would have had this done a long time ago.
Yeah, appreciate that. I mean, having the building permit to begin with, it was the first step, sort of thing, and not having a building permit is part of the problem. So I'm going to take that vote again, simply because Councillor Ladwig had missed her opportunity to speak. I'm going to say all in favor. Okay, opposed? Want that recorded, Councillor? Okay, I'll record that vote. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Those are always difficult, and I really do appreciate when the owners do come forward and speak to us and let us know with some of the background that staff may not even be aware of, so that we have a chance to consider the situation a little bit more fully and move on. So we're not here to impose wrath on people. We're here to ensure, though, that things are done in a proper way and in compliance with our bylaws. Otherwise, we wouldn't have bylaws. So, okay, we're going to move into the agenda now. And I have it 5 minutes to 9. I'm just going to ask for a resolution. If we are going to finish this agenda, we're going to need to go to 10 o'clock. And how does council feel about that? Councillor Crowell, do I have a motion to go to 10 o'clock? An hour extension. Seeing none, do I have a motion to have another motion? Councillor D'Andrade, you were first.
No, I'm just wondering if we can prioritize certain items and postpone, because, you know, that's what happened, right? We have a lot of items, and, you know, we are just humans. And And we have another meeting after that.
And
Are
we
we
have another
canceling?
meeting after this. That's correct. Yes.
I mean,
What's the consensus of the council? Councilor Lumley, you wanted to say something? And then Councilor Ladwig, sorry, then Councilor Lumley. I think it might be your background, Councilor Ladwig. You're very pale tonight. You and your background, you blend.
Yeah, I'll work on that. Sorry.
I'm in a giant warehouse loft.
Yeah.
In between residences, and I can go till 9:30, but people are going to try and sleep soon, I think.
Okay.
So, and it's like loud and big and noisy, so I'm good till 9:30.
So motion to go to 9:30, seconded by Councilor Ladwig. All in favor? Okay. Now, in doing that, can we just look at the agenda and prioritize? We have some issues we should deal with, and I'm going to suggest that we not deal with we put forward the code of conduct. I think it's a longer conversation than we have time for tonight, and that we've dealt with number 8.5, council reports. Could be short. There's some correspondence issues we should deal with. Okay, let's just drive forward now then and see how we can do it. I think the code of conduct was the one that concerned me. I thought that would be a lot of conversation. So let's carry on with committee reports. And first one is that the minutes of committee, we've received the minutes. So we'll go on to 7.1.2, development permit form and character for 1042 Gibsons Way. And the recommendation that council authorize form and character for 1028, 1042 Gibsons Way, subject to the updated site plan and reconfiguration of driveways and the refuse area with detailed screening. Councilor Ladwig will make that motion, seconded by. You gotta, okay, I don't know we don't know what you're doing. You're making a motion or oh, sorry, Councilor Diandrad. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. And I can clearly see you. I can't see Councilor Ladwig, but I can, so moved by Councilor Diandrad, second by Councilor Kroll. All in favor? Any further? Okay. All in favor. Thank you. That's approved. Administration reports. Chief Administrative Officer, the Holland Land Cultural Corner Revitalization Select Committee, terms of reference. CAO.
Thank you, Mayor Beamish. My report outlines the results of my meeting with the library staff and Director Rob Benny and Heather Evans Cullen. I also had a site tour of the Holland Lands, and as a result of their space needs study that was done on March 3rd, Council requested that I meet with the library and determine their plans and if they were willing to work on a greater vision for the Holland Lands area. And they concurred, and jointly we came up with this terms of reference before you. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through the report in depth, but the recommendations are there. I have also been having discussions with staff at the SCRD as the owner of the building. I also communicated with the school board because they would be effective with this terms of reference. So they've been given advance notice that this would be on tonight's council agenda, and the library, as in turn, was going to contact the museum and the arts people as well. So there's been general notification sent that it's being considered by council. However, it was subject to the resolution this evening to actually contact them officially to have appointments to this committee. And the committee's main purpose would be between now and the end of the year to look at the lands in greater detail. I know there's been previous studies done. It's referred to in Appendix E of our community plan, the Harbor Area Plan. But again, in the interest of time, I won't go into greater detail, but it's an exciting opportunity for Gibsons to work with the various players of these municipal lands to do some exciting things for the community.
I think it's very, very interesting project, and I think that at a certain point, and clearly, that will require public consultation and open up to a thorough dialogue with the community on this, and that'll also be an opportunity. So, I guess the one question, if council is prepared to go ahead with this, one of the resolutions I see there is that council appoint a mayor or councillor to the Holland Cultural Corner Revitalization Select Committee. And is there a councillor who would like to put her name forward? Oh, Councillor Ladwig, I see your hand. Amazing. Okay. Would somebody, council, do you have any questions about the report or questions for our CAO? Councillor Kroll.
Just very quickly, I think it's a great initiative. When I was working with the museum on their potential expansion to house the Persephone, we suddenly became aware of the library needs, and it didn't make any sense for one of the players to potentially interfere with the other, and it became apparent that working together was critical. I attended as the council rep with the museum. I was at their board meeting on last Thursday, and I said, this conversation is going to be happening. So they were quite excited about it.
I think we should also have no preconceptions. This is not a short-term project by any means, in terms of coming up with a plan and then financing that plan and getting all the players in place. But it has to start somewhere, and I think it's important that we start this. Certainly all of these organizations that are participating in this are in need of development, expansion, and new, fresh opportunities in their operations. So. Having said all that, would anyone care to move the resolutions? Councillor Ladwig, was that a question, or you want to speak, or you're muted? Yeah.
Just so I'm clear what I'm volunteering for here, would I be chairing this committee, or am I just a voting member? Like,
no, the committee will select a chair.
Right. I said, okay, good.
Yeah. Okay.
If I could, Your Worship, it's modeled after the tree bylaw committee. So the framework was, I utilized the same framework. So it's very similar, other than the membership.
Yeah, and in that particular one, we had appointed Councillor D'Andrade to chair a committee, the tree bylaw committee, you'll recall. She could choose not to. She could be democratic. So would someone care to move the motions before us? The recommendations, Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor D'Andrade. Actually, I'm going to go seconder to Councillor Ladwig simply because she's on that committee. And thank you very much, Mark, for moving this forward. This is it'll be a very interesting project, and one that I think will generate a lot of interest and excitement in the community. And I appreciate that. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you very much. And thank you, Councillor Ladwig, for stepping up on that. Director of Finance, yes, you are with us. You managed to stay. 2020 Financial Statement Information Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will keep this brief. So as a public reporting body, the town is subject to the following requirements of the Financial Information Act, and it also has accompanying regulations called the Financial Information Regulation. And so the information to be filed is to be filed with the Minister of Finance, and it's most generally known as the Statement of Financial Information, and we call it the SOFI for short. The regulation requires the report includes the audited financial statements, which you've already approved. It also requires that we include reports on salaries and expenses for both staff and council. There is a report of suppliers as well, and the regulation stipulates the thresholds as to what information is consolidated and what information is itemized. It also requires attestation by myself in terms of the accuracy and completeness of it, as well as the management report as well. And then council must approve the package of materials submitted before I submit them. And so you can see on page 2 of my report, that's a listing of what will be included in this year's SOFI report. And so my recommendation is that council You've already received it, and so I would require your approval of the 2020 Statement of Financial Information as required under the Financial Information Act, and I'd be happy to answer any questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director of Finance. Does council have any questions? This is one of those annual requirements to go through. So seeing none of the recommendation that the 2020 Statement of Financial Information be approved. Moved by Councillor Kroll, second by Councillor Lumley. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you very much. That's approved. We'll now go on to the Director of Finance report regarding council remuneration and expenses. It has been received. This is just a report. So Director of Finance, do you have anything to say about that?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this is under a section of the charter, section 168, that requires at least once a year a report is prepared listing the council remuneration, expenses, and benefits and contracts. And so a lot of the information, most of the information is contained in the SOFI report. So I generally bring this report at the same time that the SOFI is being received. So you can see on page 2 of the report is the required information that we must list. And the only addition on this one is the benefits that council receives. So the recommendation already has been passed by council to receive the report, and that's all that's required for this one tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions about this report? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next, the code of conduct, which we are putting forward to our next meeting, July the 6th. We'll go to the, and we've done the notice on title. So now we'll go to council reports. We've already dealt with Gravity and Evie Clark. So we'll go to council reports. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to report tonight? Councilor Ladwig.
I'd like to ask that we skip council reports tonight and move on so that we can try to get through the agenda. Maybe people that have reports could share it next time. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay, I just want to see if there's anything that I have a short list, and no, the only issue I had that I wanted to raise with everybody tonight is the vaccinations, the encouragement of vaccinations. They are available in our community. I actually went online. No, I didn't. Heather phoned yesterday and got an appointment for 1:15 next Tuesday. I followed her and I got an appointment for 1:15 next Tuesday. When she went online, she was told there was a 2.5 month wait. So I would encourage anybody, if you're going to make an appointment, this is for our second shots, you're going to make an appointment, phone it in and make your appointment. The information is, there's a breakdown between the two. And then a reminder, the food bank drive. We have interest in music in the landing. I don't think we're going to be doing that until we can have more than 50 people congregate together. But I think we should be striving for that perhaps in August. And then I've asked Mark and corporate officer to look at COVID restart plan for September to see if by September we can actually start meeting in person or a combination thereof. So take a look at that. And you're aware that I'm going to make a presentation to the Police Act Review Committee. That's all I wanted to bring up on that tonight. And yeah, okay, so we'll move on then to the next one is the Jonathan Strenby, Chief of Staff, Squamish Nation Cannabis Business Opportunity and Indigenous Rights. This is correspondence received. My recommendation is we follow this up with a request for a meeting and discussion to them. Has council had a chance to read the letter? Yeah, and I think it's appropriate that we acknowledge to them and ask for an opportunity to meet. And I think it's I'd like to see where they're coming from and what exactly they're asking for. So resolution then sorry, Councilor Kroll.
No, go ahead, sir.
I can say a resolution to ask for a meeting with Jonathan Strenby, Chief of Staff of the Squamish Nation Cannabis Business Opportunities and Indigenous Rights, to follow up on the letter. Councilor D'Andrade, thank you. Seconded by Councilor Kroll. Any further discussion on that, councillors? It's an interesting approach they've made, and it'd be interesting to discuss that with them. Councillor Ladwig.
Probably goes without saying, I probably don't need to mention it, but when we do follow up with them, I think it's really important to highlight that we've passed a cannabis retail bylaw. And as far as I know, it's at capacity, but I don't know. I don't know what the latest is on our cannabis distribution stores here in Gibsons at the moment, but I think it's important for us to share with them the work that we have been working on for the past 2 years.
I appreciate that. And I think what I'd maybe do is put that, copy that with a letter that we send back so they can see what we have and see where we are with that. Maybe make the letter a little bit comprehensive and talk. We have 2 stores at the present time in town.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. The next one is Ted Olenek, Manager, Community Relations, BC Hydro, and requesting a meeting, that a meeting request be submitted to council to meet with BC Hydro prior to the 2021 convention for the purposes of discussing. Do we have any conversations we want to have with BC Hydro? Councillor Kroll?
I'm assuming this is a result of us sending the letter to endorse the PACE project. He references PACE in his letter, and the fact that it's a program that's evolved out of the Climate Caucus and community leads.
We did get a response from the province on PACE on that issue. So I think this is just an annual thing, UBCM coming up, and a general invitation to communities. If they wish to make an appointment to meet with BC Hydro, please make the appointment and let us know what you'd like to discuss. I think we will probably see more than one of these come through as we approach UBCM.
Okay, just when I read it, the PACE and the Climate Caucus and the community leads which were the 3 factors in the presentation I brought to council. And as to the letter, I just sort of assumed that.
Yeah, there's a letter in our correspondence file. Yeah, from a provincial. I don't have it in front of me, but there is a letter in the correspondence file from the province relative to PACE. So that, but I don't know. Do we have any particular need to meet with BC Hydro? Anybody? For any issues? Okay. Seeing none, I think that sorry, Councillor Kroll.
You know, to Councillor Andretti's issue, she wants electric buses, she wants electric cars. There's no infrastructure for charging electric buses on the coast. There's no infrastructure for charging BC ferries at any of the ferry terminals. So, you know, do we want to meet?
Yeah. Councillor D'Andrade?
Good point, Councillor Crowe. I think my brain is not working anymore, but I appreciate. Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's true. And this will be a deterrent. Yeah. So perhaps this is a good idea to see if they have plans. Yeah, I will be willing.
You know, they're already saying if 3 people on a street in this town have electric cars, there's not the capacity within the system to charge them.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, then for the purpose of discussing the topic is?
In enhancing the infrastructure to support green communities.
Okay, okay. So, yeah, so somebody, we'll have to write something up about that for them, but yeah, we'll do that. So you move by Councillor Kroll, second by Councillor D'Andrade to meet with BC Hydro. And all of council doesn't have to be there, by the way, just if they want to meet to BC Hydro, that's fine. See that. Okay. So all in favor? Okay. Thank you. That's approved. Okay. ED on administrator responsible for housing regarding climate action in buildings and property assessed clean energy. This is the PACE one, and financing be received. We did get correspondence from him on that. So I don't know if there's anything further council wants to add with regards to that response. Any follow-up, Councillor Kroll?
I had jumped ahead one.
Did you? Okay. Okay.
But still, the hypothetical applies. But I think, you know, this PACE project is something that, you know, particularly when you look at the demographic of the Sunshine Coast with, you know, seniors who are on fixed incomes, living in homes that were built in the 60s. The PACE financing project, I think, is a viable means to an end to make a significant impact on climate. So, I think, yes, definitely worth meeting and moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. This has been received. Is there anything else we need to do with it? Okay, from 10.4 is the from Brian Frankel of the ABICC. This is just confirming that our two resolutions were endorsed by ABICC and that those will be going forward to UBCM for debate and consideration. And then the council correspondence of May 31 and June 7. Is there anything on those issues that and those files that council wants to bring forward? I had one, and that is the news release on the from the SCRD, School District 46, on the appointment of Kate Kerr as superintendent of schools. I'd like to propose that council, that a letter be written on behalf of council to congratulate her on her appointment and look forward to an opportunity to meet with her. Sometime perhaps even around discussing the Youth on Council project. And just welcome her as congratulate her on her appointment. So I would move that if somebody would second it in the letter. Councillor Crowell, thank you. And we'll draft that and send. All in favor of that? Thank you very much. So we'll get that drafted and sent out to her. Other than that, Gravity may change the address for Youth Council. There's a number of issues around the Eagle Crest project. They are being addressed by our staff, following up with both the owners and the developer. It's not untypical for a project as it gets underway to create the attention, and it's also important that as the project gets underway that they follow the rules. There are rules around dust. There are rules around making dirt on the streets. There are noise bylaws to be complied with. And I think that working at an early stage with the developer on those issues will probably solve some problems for us going in the future. So I look forward to that. So I appreciate, I actually greatly appreciate staff's responsiveness to the concerns both of the residents by meeting with them and also following up with the developer on those issues. Councillor Crowell?
I'd also like to applaud staff for working with local businesses. There was one business on Gibsons Way that had just a dirt parking lot. And as their heavy vehicles moved in and out of the property, they just put out huge clouds of dust. It was impacting, there was dirt all over the roads. The car dealership across the street was having to wash cars daily. So kudos to staff for, resolving it. It's not just this construction site, it was other areas in town that they've been dealing with. So, applauding staff for their, coming to a resolution.
Councillor Diandrat?
Thank you, Mayor. There's three letters, but one is the same subject. I think the first one I would like to acknowledge, it's about the town seaside character.
Yes.
Sorry. Oh, the seaside character. This, I remember this was an election issue. We spoke a lot about that, and somehow this has died out. But we have been talking about the OCP amendment. Obviously, this will be a very important conversation. I would like just, we formed these two committees now. I'm very the select committees. Perhaps this is a way of working. Let's see the results of the three bylaw committee. And if successful, I wouldn't mind following up with the idea, because I think this is a conversation that can start with a small group, people who are interested, and you put some body of work, and then by the time you go to public, and you help staff anyways that is overwhelmed. So I would, in the future, I would return to that. The other, there are two letters about Gospel Rock, and there's concerns with more clear cut. And I would like just that the town has good communication, public communication. I learned about the stop work order through the newspaper, not through an email to me. I wish I had learned this before, but I think it's very important to have this communication with the public because there are serious concerns. There are certain things that happened in the past, and I think people are concerned. So I haven't seen anything anymore, but I would like that the town be on top of that. Whatever happens, that the residents and concerned people that there is good communication in this regard.
Thank you. You're still part of that committee on dealing with the covenant on that one, so that there should be, yeah.
Which one?
The covenant, the Gospel Rock covenant?
Yeah, but I haven't heard anything since the last meeting.
Yeah.
I have not have any follow-up, so I don't know. I cannot communicate with anyone because we had a meeting, that's it.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you for that. And we'll go on then to, we have bylaws. Zoning bylaw amendment number 1065-60 for 1100 Gibsons Way. And the recommendation is that the bylaw be given third reading. This is the one you heard we had the public hearing on earlier this evening. If moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Lumley, all in favor? Okay, thank you very much. There's no unfinished business, no new business, no notice of motions. In the interest of time and the fact that we have another meeting, I'm going to suspend inquiries tonight, and we'll go on to our motion to close so that we can get our other meeting in the next 10 minutes before we run out of time. So that could have a motion to close recommendation pursuant to section 91 EJK of the community charter. Councillor Kroll, Councillor Lumley, all in favor of motion to close? Thank you. And thank you, Youth Councillor Gravity Guinard. It's been a pleasure. We're not cutting you off. You're welcome to come back in July if you want, but we do know that other priorities take place, and we don't meet in August. So that, and Evie, you're also welcome to come back in July. And in fact, you are now our official person. You can be there in July. And Gravity, anytime on a Tuesday night when you have nothing else to do in your Toronto, in your dorms, and you want to tune us in, you're welcome to do that. We look forward to seeing you. Okay. And
thank you very much. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I will see you all around, and it has been an awesome year and a half or 2 years. All right. Have a nice rest of your meeting. Bye.
Thanks for putting up with us. Good night, Evie. See you. Talk to you later. Take care. Okay, Council. As soon as we're